Have you ever Googled yourself? Come on, let's be honest. We all have, right? But here's the thing. What you see on that very first page isn't just some random list of links. Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we are pulling back the curtain on the invisible machine. We're going to dive into exactly how search engines algorithmically construct, evaluate, and actually display your professional digital reputation. Look, whether you're a business owner, a top executive, or an independent professional, there is an incredibly complex information system working quietly in the background, constantly assessing everything about you. And you know, understanding how this machine actually operates, well, that's absolutely crucial. It's the very first step to mastering it.
The high-stakes reality of our modern digital landscape is this. Your reputation exists long before you even speak. Just imagine, you just finished a phenomenal pitch for a massive new client. You leave the room, you're feeling great, but a week later, you get a polite email saying, "Hey, we went in another direction." So what happened? Well, in many cases, it was a silent rejection based entirely on what they found when they looked you up. Long before you enter a boardroom, pitch a client, or introduce yourself at a conference, an opinion has likely already been formed. And that opinion, it is entirely dictated by what is visible in search. We literally no longer just have personal reputations, we have search-visible reputations.
So I want you to really think about this crucial question right now. What do people actually see when they search your name or your company's name? Does a glowing feature in Forbes pop up, your meticulously curated LinkedIn profile? Or is it a glowing one-star Yelp review from an angry customer back in 2018? Maybe an outdated blog you haven't touched in a decade. Because the results that populate on that very first page, they instantly influence trust, credibility, and public perception. People treat search engine results not just as directories anymore, but as absolute arbiters of truth.
Okay, so here's our agenda for today. 1. Your search visible reputation. 2. How search ecosystems work. 3. Evaluating trust and authority. 4. The evolving digital footprint. And 5. Managing your digital narrative. Let's jump right into Section 1. Your search visible reputation.
Let's break this down a bit. Online reputation is essentially the aggregated set of search visible signals that define credibility, trust, and entity perception across search engine results pages, or SERPs. Now, to truly grasp your online reputation, we really need to understand a vital concept called entity perception. Think of an entity kind of like a massive digital dossier, or actually a giant puzzle. Search engines scour the internet and find all these scattered puzzle pieces. A tweet you posted, a news article mentioning your company, a public business registry, a professional profile. The search system seamlessly aggregates these distributed fragments, snaps them all together, and constructs one centralized identity. That completed puzzle? That is your entity. Your reputation is simply the public-facing version of this aggregated entity.
Moving right along to Section 2. How search ecosystems work.
Reputation management is really the structured process of shaping how you are interpreted through indexed content and semantic associations. It's a direct pipeline. Basically, without indexed content, you essentially do not exist within the evaluative framework of a search engine. Everything starts with what actually gets into the search engine's database. But what do we mean by semantic associations? Well, semantics is all about meaning and context. It's how an algorithm knows that an article about Apple refers to the massive tech company and not the fruit you eat, based on surrounding words like iPhone or stock price. When a search engine looks at your indexed content, it's constantly building these semantic associations to figure out exactly who you are, what you do, and how important you are.
There's a continuous cycle that shows how content transforms from raw data into your public-facing identity. Step 1 is discover. Think of the search crawler as a tireless digital librarian just scouring millions of web pages 24/7 to find new information. Step 2 is index. The librarian files that information away in a massive database, organizing it so it can be found later. Step 3 is absolutely crucial, evaluate. This is where the machine checks for semantic clarity, authority, and relevance. It's basically asking, is this information trustworthy? Is it accurate? And finally, step 4 is display, where it actually shows up in front of a user. And remember, this is not a one-time event. This librarian never ever sleeps. This cycle happens continuously, meaning your digital reputation remains incredibly fluid and highly responsive to any new data inputs.
All right, Section 3. Evaluating trust and authority. Reputation isn't just a single, fixed score. It's made up of distinct, interconnected signals. Let's look at authority first. The algorithm looks at link authority distribution, essentially what high-trust domains are linking to you. Getting a link from a major news outlet carries massive weight compared to a link from some obscure blog, right? Then we have consistency. The system checks content consistency patterns to ensure your narrative is stable. Are your job titles and company descriptions the exact same across all platforms? Next is relevance. This maps you to specific informational categories. If you're a chef, the algorithm looks for relevant terms surrounding your name, like culinary or restaurant. And finally, engagement. The algorithm measures indicators to see if users actually find your information valuable. Do people click on the links about you? Do they stay on the page? All of these slices work together in a probabilistic model to determine your ultimate visibility.
Now, entity perception isn't manually assigned by some human sitting at a desk reviewing your resume. No way. It is algorithmically derived. Search engines construct meaning and authority around you through strong contextual relationships, topical alignment, and repeated exposure in trusted environments. Let's put this into a concrete example. Say you're a financial advisor. If your name repeatedly appears in the Wall Street Journal next to terms like fiduciary, wealth management, and retirement planning, the algorithm connects those dots. It builds a powerful contextual web. It says, okay, this entity belongs in the high-authority finance category. Conversely, if your information is conflicting or fragmented, those semantic connections break down entirely, and the algorithm simply gets confused.
It is vital to understand that true authority is calculated through a comparative analysis of these network relationships and inbound references. You can't just type industry expert on your own personal website and expect the algorithm to believe it. Think of it kind of like getting letters of recommendation. The more prestigious the person writing the letter, or in this case, the website linking to you, the more the algorithm believes your claims. It looks for trusted references from external domains. It looks for consistent mentions across multiple high-quality sources. Your historical credibility acts as a foundational data set. This historical record literally influences how quickly any new, positive information about you is validated, ranked, and pushed to the top of the search results.
Let's transition to Section 4, the evolving digital footprint. We really have to recognize that your digital footprint functions as an evolving, permanent reputational memory system within the search infrastructure. They say an elephant never forgets, but man, the internet has a memory that makes an elephant look completely amnesiac. Every article, every directory listing, every review, and every casual mention gets added to this historical record. A stable, coherent digital footprint significantly increases the trust signals that search engines rely upon. That foundation from 5, 10, or even 15 years ago, it acts as an absolute anchor for your ongoing present-day credibility.
Think about your own digital timeline for a second. 5 years ago, your initial references and professional profiles established your baseline identity. A year ago, maybe accumulated reviews, press releases, or social mentions added some contextual depth to that identity. And today, search engines aggregate all of that historical data into your unified entity profile. It's like compound interest for your digital credibility. Entities that possess strong historical coherence achieve much faster validation of any new content, meaning a solid past footprint directly strengthens and accelerates your future visibility for sure.
Beyond just cold, hard facts, the machine also evaluates opinions. Public sentiment and aggregated reviews serve as quantifiable trust inputs. But you might be wondering, how does a machine read human emotion? Well, it's through something called natural language processing, or NLP. Sentiment analysis systems actually read the textual content of reviews, looking between the lines. They pick up on words like amazing, terrible, frustrating, or excellent, and classify them into positive, neutral, or negative values. Sustained, consistent positive sentiment strengthens trust signals. Conversely, inconsistent or negative patterns introduce major volatility into your search results. And remember, the machine weighs the importance of these reviews based on the authority of the source site, too.
And finally, Section 5, managing your digital narrative.
Cross-platform consistency is absolutely paramount for strong entity visibility. Let's imagine a professional named Jane. Jane has a unified digital narrative. Her professional history, her expertise in corporate law, and her messaging align perfectly across her website, her LinkedIn, and industry directories, so the algorithm confidently increases her perceived credibility. Now imagine another version of Jane with a fragmented narrative. Her website says she's a corporate lawyer, but there's a highly ranked, forgotten profile from 10 years ago saying she's a freelance wedding photographer. This conflicting information creates algorithmic ambiguity, and in search ecosystems, ambiguity always reduces search trust, and lowered trust means lowered visibility.
Because information naturally spreads across news publications, social platforms, and reference sites, a strong reputation requires ongoing awareness of how search systems interpret these multiple signals. When a single piece of news about you propagates across different domains, search engines actively track that flow. Because you are one entity made of multiple signals, managing your reputation means you have to play defense and offense everywhere, simultaneously. You have to monitor this interconnected data network at scale, ensuring that the unified narrative we just discussed is the exact one that the search algorithms encounter, no matter where they look.
I want to share a quote that sums this up perfectly. Reputation is not a static attribute, but a continuously updated representation derived from indexed content, semantic associations, and behavioral signals across platforms. Because these algorithms are constantly updating, crawling, and evaluating, your reputation management is never actually finished. It's a continuous practice. It is exactly like going to the gym. You don't just lift weights once and stay strong forever, right? You have to maintain an awareness of how content, algorithms, and semantic networks constantly interact to define who you are online, and you gotta put in the reps to keep that identity strong.
The source material is very clear on this. True reputation management doesn't rely on overnight magic or cheap tricks. It requires structured, sustainable methods to monitor, analyze, and legitimately influence the visibility of your personal or corporate entity. If you are looking to take professional control of your digital visibility using these exact methodologies, platforms like clearmyname.org are designed to facilitate this process, helping you actively shape and structure your own search ecosystem.
So, I'll leave you with this final provocative thought to consider regarding the future of your own digital footprint. Will you leave your digital reputation entirely up to the whims of automated algorithms, fragmented data, and outdated profiles? Or will you take command of the invisible machine to engineer the credibility you actually deserve? The system is continuously indexing your narrative right now. Make sure it's the right one. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer.